Good evening to our Omid Yomi Shir. We are following the order of the Omid Yomi of Dirshu, and that means we're in Shabbos Daf Nun Vav Amud Aleph. But right now we're starting in Nun Hey Amud Beis, the very bottom of the page. We're going to speak again about the sins of different people from Tanakh, of biblical figures, and that's very interesting. The real perspective of Torah. Hi Tzvi, hi, nice to see you from Eretz Yisrael, America. Very nice. So this year is for the Atzloch of Klal Yisrael, difficult times, and may we see Mashiach soon, Geula Shlema, and the Ilu Nishmas, my father, Akiva, Menachem ben Akiva, Allah Shalom, Shidduch, the good Zivuk for Yitzchak Meir ben Michal, Imhera. Omar Shmuel bar Nachmeni, Omar b'Yonason. Yeah, it's the same person with different statements. Omar Shmuel bar Nachmeni, Omar b'Yonason. Kol ha'omer b'nei Shmuel chotu. Whoever says that the sons of Shmuel sinned, eino elo toya. Right? In other words, we're going to have a lot of Tanakh today. Today we're going to have a nice lesson in Tanakh. Hopefully we'll come out much more Tanakh informed than we came. So the story of Bnei Shmuel, the pasuk says that when Shmuel was old, yeah, it says Kashazok and Shmuel v'yosim esban of shoftim li'Yisrael. Shmuel basically appointed his sons to be shoftim, to be the judges, the leaders of Am Yisrael after, to continue in his ways, yeah, to basically take over him. And then it says, before we continue the Gemara, I'm reading in the Psukim, they did not follow his ways, meaning his good ways. Shmuel's children, what did they do? They followed the money, they were inclined by money, outright. They took bribe, yeah, mishpat, and they inclined, they basically distorted mishpat. Wow, looks like the sons of Shmuel were mamish rashayim. They took sheichad. It's a terrible avera midoraisa. So here we say, no, says Rabbi Yonason, eno latoya. It's a mistake to say that they sinned. And again, Rashi says, look at Rashi. Bnei Shmuel chotu, the first Rashi at the top of the page, b'mekach sheichad atoyas din, which means, as with the other cases, of course there's some kind of hate, but the hate of sheichad, that much they did not sin. In other words, they went low, but not that low. Yeah, they didn't mamish take sheichad and really distorted completely and misjudged. Why? Shenema. It says in the pasuk. Look at the first pasuk. V'yikizokin Shmuel. Shmuel, when he aged, when he got old, it says the banav laholchu b'drachav. What does it mean? They were not as good as him. B'drachav laholchu. So the Gemara's medayek, they were not as good as him. They're not as much as tzaddik as he was. But they did not sin. If I want to tell you about a sinner, hot news, Lashon Hara. This guy, he's such a sinner. He's not like Rav Elyashiv. What do you mean? Is he a sinner or is just below Rav Elyashiv? Make up your mind, right? So what does the Tanakh mean, right? The Tanakh is telling me they're not as good as him. But they're not so bad. I frag the Gemara, Elamani Mekayim. So how do I explain the pasuk? It says that they did follow, they were inclined after money. Botza is always money in the negative aspect. Right? If botza is like betza is money gained, in a non-kosher way. So they're not kosher. Explains the Torah, explains the Gemara. They're not as good as their father when it came to running the Beis Din. The way the bureaucracy of Beis Din was different, yeah, there was a difference between them and Shmuel. Let's see, let's continue. Shehoya Shmuel a tzaddik. Shmuel Navi was a tzaddik. What would he do when he was alive? Mechazer b'chol mekoros Yisrael. He would go round and round. Mechazer, he would actually travel to each and every town in Eretz Yisrael. V'dan oisam be'arehem. He would do his rounds. He would make himself available for people. Yeah. So then Shmuel Navi is here, and then tomorrow is there, and next week is there. Like round and round. And therefore each town would have Shmuel, yeah, available in the right time, and they would actually save a lot of money. Shenema, as it says, each and every year he would go. The Savav, he would have like the Sivuv, he would have his regular routine, yeah, his rounds. Beis El, Gilgal, Mitzpah, would go to a different city. B'shofet es Israel, and he would judge Bnei Israel. That means it was very low cost. Maybe it cost him to travel. Okay, no office, no air condition, no secretary, no car, whatever. He didn't have all this expensive. The Haim, on the other end, them, meaning who? The children, the sons, would they continue this way? They did not continue his way. Lo yosuken, they did not do that. They were not so careful and they were not making themselves available. Ela yoshvu ba'areim, they dafka sat in their own towns. They sat where they were positioned, deployed in one place, and they did that on purpose. Why did they create a system of Beis Din staying in the same place? They wanted what's called in English jobs for the boys. Yeah, in other words, they wanted to increase the sachar, the money, the salary for the chazanim, for Shamashem, for those who summoned people to Beis Din, right? In other words, they had friends. They say, why should I go to the person who lives in Beit El or Gilgal? I'll stay here, wherever they were, I don't know, in Yerushalayim, wherever they were, and I'm going to pay people to be the couriers, to be the runners, to bring people and summon them to Beis Din, for the Safrayan also, for the scribes, all the Rashi says, all the different stores. In other words, they created the system to create jobs. We think creating jobs is such a good thing. It's not always good. In other words, for the people, it costs more money. People came to Beis Din, had to pay money, and by the times of Shmuel, they didn't have to pay money. So at the end of the day, that was not shaychad, but again, there was too much money involved. It wasn't outright shaychad. They were not that bad. They were not, but the money there wasn't so kosher. They could have avoided all those office expenses, overhead. And they're the first amutah with a lot of overhead expenses, and that's exactly what's not good over here. However, that's a machlokes tanoi. Again, we see a machlokes tanoim. There are many opinions regarding the exact avera. Before we continue to machlokes tanoim about the nature of the averos of Bnei Shmuel, remember Shmuel was a Levi. Those children are also Levim. That's usually how it goes, yeah? So now, what do Levim receive? Levim receive Ma'aser Rishon. Levim, they're supposed to get Ma'aser Rishon from people. Whoever, a farmer, whoever has produce has to give the Ma'aser Rishon to the Levi. Now, those Levim, the children of Shmuel, they abused that. Yeah, they abused their position. It says, V'yatu achrei habotza, the same posuk that we saw, that they were following the money too much, or like inclining too much towards money. Rabbi Meir says, what does it mean? Chelkam shalu befihem. Says Rashi, they demanded befihem. They demanded clearly, verbally, assertively, their chelek, says Rashi, because they deserved Ma'aser Rishon. They were number one Levim. They were the most famous Levim. And Shoiftim, you better give a Ma'aser Rishon to me. And then the other Levim lost. So it's not outright theft, but it's not really right. Yeah, they were too domineering, Ma'aser Rishon should come to me. It's not exactly shoichad, they would just demand it from everybody, but it wasn't right. They abused their high position, so that wasn't the right thing to do. It's not shoichad. It's not like they mamish distorted the din and they said that a Rosh is a tzaddik, but it doesn't shmek nice. It's not right to do that. Rabbi Yehuda says, Milai hitilu al balebatim. What does it mean, Milai hitilu al balebatim? Says Rashi, the Milai is basically they gave business to balebatim, to working people, and therefore they had business partnerships with certain people. And then when a person would come to Beis Din, even if they're not cognizant of that, automatically their heart goes for the business partner, right? They're not 100% clean. In other words, they didn't take outright shoichad, but they had business with Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, and didn't have business with Yehuda and Yerucham. So they're more inclined towards Reuven and Shimon, right? So that wasn't right. They were not completely clean because they had their business affairs with certain people, melai as money. They were memala, they gave them money for investment. Rabbi Akiva says, the third opinion, Kupa yetera shel ma'aser notlu bezroa. That's even harder. A few explanations. Rashi says, Mamish, it took too much. Wow. Rashi says it took too much Ma'aser Rishon. Marsho argues and he says it wasn't as bad, but Lamaisa, Rashi says, yes, I follow Rashi. They took Ma'aser Rishon plus another 1 or 2%. Yeah. Also wrong. It's like too much money-oriented, money-minded. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Matanos notlu bezroya. This is two explanations. Usually, classically, when we say matanos means matnos kehuna, specifically, yeah, the matnos kehuna out of the 24 matnos kehuna that exist, that's written in Vavakama Kuf Yud Amud Beis, in Chulin Kuf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. You can see the whole list of 24 matanos in these places. When you say matanos, though, usually means zroa lechayim v'keva. The three parts of the shechted animal, yeah, the forearm, the tongue, and the cheek, and the keva, the stomach, supposed to go to a kohen, not to a Levi. The kohen's supposed to get it, and they took that. They're not kohen, but Levim. And they took matnas kiuna instead of the kohen, they took it themselves, which is obviously very wrong. Or another pshat, says Rashi, matanos may mean the ma'aser rishon, which they deserve, but they took it by force. And ma'aser, like all matnas kehuna, one of the most important things in matnas kehuna is that the person who gives matnas kehuna supposed to have it's called, people misunderstand the term, it's called toivas hano. What does toivas hano mean? If I have ma'aser to give, I have the right to choose which kohen shall I give it to. The kohen cannot force me or, engineer me to force me or try to convince me to give it to him. I'm supposed to choose it in a very objective way. And they didn't. They demanded it. Let's see what's the question of Tzvi. Sazek, they were over Avasisa Shavatov. Of course. Yeah. Again, yes. Nobody says the word tzaddikim. It doesn't portray a nice picture of the sons of Shmuel. All we're saying is that as bad as they were, it's not like the mamish outright took an envelope under the table and said that the murderer will go free or that the thief will go free. That low, they didn't stoop. Yeah, they didn't go. Elamai, they were like playing around. Definitely not this is Shabbat Tov. There are a lot of issues here. They sinned, but not that much. As I explained yesterday, and I'm going to say it again, and I hope more people will watch the video to understand the very choshev yesod, and that is we're not trying to beautify and make everyone look good. The point is because the sons of Shmuel, we expect so much of them because they were potentially big tzaddikim. So even though their avera was smaller, in Shemaim, it's considered as the real avera of shoichad. It's tzaddik, medakdekim tzaddikim kechut asayro, as it says in Bavakam of Samach Amud Aleph. Yeah. Weiter. Omar of Shmuel bar Nachmani, Omar of Yonasan. Here comes, it's the same person again and again. Of Shmuel, son of Nachmani, on behalf of Rabbi Yonasan. And here comes big news. And before we continue, I don't know how much you know about Israeli secular society, but it's very, very sad. And it's a big shame on the secular education system that you speak to Chilonim, and the only thing they know about David HaMelech is the story of Bathsheba. They don't even know they wrote the Tehillim, many of them. The only thing they know, not that it was a melech, there was a fighter, it was a big tzaddik, he wrote such beautiful love songs to Hashem. The only thing they know about him is Bathsheba or something even worse, which I don't want to mention. But kids, that's all they know, which is really a tragedy. So now we're going to re-explore the story of David and Bathsheba. So what's the story of David and Bathsheba before we continue? Just in short, basically David the Melech, that's by the way taken from Tanakh, and I saw today again, I revisited Sanhedrin Kuf Zayin Amud Aleph. That's where the story of David is mentioned more in detail. And David HaMelech basically was a person very, very close to Hashem. Just read the Tehillim. I spoke to Chilonim. They didn't even know they wrote the Tehillim. So then what happens? David HaMelech was so close to Hashem and in a way so sure of himself that he said to Hashem, you test me. I trust myself to stand any test, to be oimed benisoyan. You can test me. And Hashem said, okay. Oh no. And therefore, what happened? So David went and he was like walking up and down I'm sure he was thinking, learning or telling. He was doing the right thing by walking up on the roof, and then the Satan morphed into a bird. So David HaMelech shot the bird, and behind the bird was like a kaveres, was like a closed, like a cupboard or something, all the time shower. You know, it's a shower. So he shot the bird, and behind the bird was the shower, where was Bathsheba. So the worst thing in Shmiras Einaim, as we all know, if you go to Rehov Yafo or to Manhattan, you prepare yourself not to look. Because Manhattan is not the height of Tznius, neither is Tel Aviv. But when it comes by surprise, you don't know, right? Like the story of the Zorro, the Afchaf, like Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Gamliel, they were walking. A beautiful guy, cornered him, right? When it comes by surprise, you don't know. So boom, all of a sudden he saw a woman watching, which was Bathsheba. So Yitzhar took him by surprise, right? And then what? So he took her and he had relations with her. And she was the wife of Uriah, Ishes Ish. She was the wife of Uriah Chiti, of a ger from Chitite. And then he told Uriah, okay, you go to work quickly. I'm going to deploy you in the front line. So Uriah is going to die now, quickly. And then if there's a baby from David and Bathsheba, right? So now he's going to die, right? And she'll be mutter to him. She'll be okay with him, right? She'll be not an Eshes Ish anymore. But he also told him, go home tonight and have relations with your wife, like I allow you. So this way, if she's pregnant, they would connect it to Uriah. And then he put him in the front line because Uriah refused. And let me say it again. He told Uriah, come home, take a break from the war. There was wartime in Gaza, Hamas, Hezbollah in the north. There was war, So David told him, take a break tonight. I'd like to take a break. Tonight, go eat, drink, be with your wife, have a good time, and then go back tomorrow. So then, I'm saying Poshup Shat, so then people would say, okay, there was still one night of Uriah and his wife. Yeah, that's a Poshup Shat. It's not exact, what? And then, one second, give me a second. And then Uriah said, no, my master Yoav, all I'm telling you is important to know for the Gemara. He said, no, my master, my general Yoav is in the war, he's in the front line, in Rafiach, in Rafah, and I'm joking about Rafah, will I go home to sleep with my wife, Chas v'shalom? He refused to come home, and then David sent him to the front line, so he should die, and she will not be Eshes Ish anymore, and then he'll marry her. And that is l'shoira, the Poshup Pshat of the story. We're not saying now the Pshat, we're not saying now, I'm just saying now what it says in the Novi. Now we're going to explain the deeper aspects of this interesting story. Yes. Let's restart the story. Which means, if you read the Bible, the Tanakh, and you think that David actually had outright, black and white, relations with an Eshes Ish, he's making a mistake. Why? Shenema, it says, David in each and every derech, every moment of his day, as the Gemara says at the beginning of Brochus, nighttime, daytime, he davened, he learned the whole night. Half a night he davened, then half a night he learned, Tehillim. He was only connected to Hashem in an unbelievable way. Hashem was with him. You want to tell me, a person so close to Hashem will sin? I saw them before Shem on that. And they say, first of all, what I told you was Hashem was with him all the time. Secondly, Hashem had invested interest in David, because Hashem knew that David will prepare for the building of Beis HaMikdash through Shlomo, and David's supposed to be the father of Mashiach. So he won't let David sin. As much as we have free choice, Hashem would make sure that David is not going to sin that much. And let me ask you a question. Let's take an average kollel guy in the horrible generation of 2024. A guy who sits and learns most of the time. He learns in Davos and learns in Davos. He sometimes speaks Lashon Hara, sometimes he's a bit into politics. Go to the Eshes Ish? No. And David went to the Eshes Ish? Excuse me. Something doesn't work right. That people, they don't understand, that the secular people, but we know that's not where we're holding. Ela. So he did not actually have relations with Eshes Ish. Ela mani mekayem. But however, what was the next part of the story? Who came to him to rebuke him, to give him techocha? Nathan. Nathan he came and told him the story with Kivsas Arash, the poor man's sheep, right? It was the story. And then he told him, Nathan gave him very harsh techocha, and Nathan told him, Madua bizisas dvar Hashem. Why did you despise? Why did you belittle? Why did you make small? You belittled dvar Hashem. Lasois hara, and you did something bad. So he did do something wrong because he's getting a very harsh rebuke by the Navi. So it's not like David did do anything. Answers the Gemara, Shabikesh lasois veloy also, because he wanted to sin, but he didn't. There was that moment of weakness, but at the end of the day, he did not do that. However, that could be one pshat, or it's a pshat that will be explained later. But the pasuk pshat is he almost had relations with her before the get, but eventually he did not have the relations before she got a get, as we're going to see soon. Omar Rav, says Rav, that's very interesting. Rebbe Rav is quoting Rabbi, Rabbi Yokodosh, Rabbi Yudah Nossi. Rabbi Da'asi David, Rabbi comes from David, is a descendant of David, right? Rabbi was a Nossi, so all the Nessim were descendants of the Davidic dynasty. Rabbi Da'asi David, Mehapech v'dorish b'schusi de David. Rabbi that comes from David is mehapech. He's turning things around. He's looking hard to basically find the schus for David. Yeah, Rabbi says, I'm loyal to my ancestor. I have to somehow find pshat what went wrong. So the first pshat, David almost did it, and that was bad enough for him. The thought of an Ashes ish, machshava, hirur, that's bad enough for David. That would be pshat, maybe. A Rabbi is saying something else. What does he say? Madua bizi says dvar Hashem la'asos hara. Oh, now what does it say? Why? Listen to the lashon. You mevaze, you despise the word of Hashem. La'asos hara, to do the bad thing, not asisa hara. He didn't say you did bad. La'asos hara. What does it mean? Rabbi Oimer says, Rabbi meshuna ro zu mikol ro shebatoiro. The word ro, the word ro is written, says Rashi, beksivoso belashoino. In the way it's written, the way it's phrased, is different to all other bad deeds in the Torah. Why? It says many, many times when the Tanakh, every time the Torah talks about a bad king, and there were many of them, it says Vayas hara be'enei Hashem. So if the Torah wanted to say David actually did something wrong, the Torah should have written David did wrong. The kan ksiv here it says la'asois. You were mevazet var Hashem in order to do something bad. Shebikesh la'asois v'loy oso. He wanted to have the snus with an Ashes ish, and he didn't. So far, Rabbi is the same as we said before. Oh, but now comes something new. Because in the story of Bathsheba, there were two issues. What are the two issues? First of all, did he lie with Bathsheba? Secondly, he sent poor Uriah, which seems to be an innocent man, right, to be, so we think now, to actually go to the front line, so he should die. That's also wrong. Here comes the second story. How are you going to deal with that? Es Uriah Chiti, and this is something that the Navi is rebuking him for. The Navi is telling him off. Es Uriah Chiti hikesa becherev. You hit Uriah Chiti becherev. You killed him through the sword. What does it mean? You killed him with the sword? Well, first of all, he didn't kill him. He sent him to be killed by the goyim in the front line. Maybe he's going to survive. It's a groma. It's not for sure. Explains that was a sin. That was a sin. Oh, in other words, you should have made a din in Sanhedrin. What does it mean? Uriah Chiti, as we're going to see, Uriah Chiti, as we'll see later on in the wide lines, was a moired b'malchus. We're going to see machlokes Rashi Tosfos why. Very interesting. Uriah Chiti had the status of a rebel. He rebelled against David, by either saying, I'm not having a vacation. No, I'm going to war. Or by the mere fact that he said, my master Yoav is in the field. Meaning my master is Yoav and not you. Yeah. So Uriah was mechutzaf to David. However, why did you send him to war? You should have laduna b'Sanhedrin. You should have had a proper din of Sanhedrin. Sit down with Sanhedrin of at least 23 people and judge him properly. And you didn't. You sent him to war right away. You were too harsh to, even Mored b'Malchus. Tosfos points out, I don't want to say Tosfos inside, but Tosfos points out that Mored b'Malchus gets a quicker din than others. Because Mored b'Malchus is very harsh. But there has to be some kind of din. You can't just decide, okay, poof, I'm sending him to war. You have to have some kind of mishpat, even if it's quicker. Now, here comes good news. The Navi rebukes David and says, his wife you took for yourself. It seems like we're saying something negative, but here comes the point that you said before. This is good news. What does it mean? Le'isha, lekachta lechol isha, you took means lakicha. I'm learning kiddushin now most of the day. Lakicha means marriage, kiddushin. You're mekadesh his wife. You can't be mekadesh someone else's eshes ish. Says the Gemara, likuchin yesh lecha bo. You may marry her, which means if she was a real eshes ish and there was an affair, lo aleinu, everybody knows she's also for the husband and for the boyel, for the other guy. You're allowed to marry her. How come he's allowed to marry her? I thought she was an Eshet Ish. And that's what they teach in the school in the Chiloni. And here comes the main point of the whole sugya. The norm by people who'd go out to war under the kingdom of David, they would always write, here comes big machokes Rashi Tosfos. I'm now following Rashi. A person going to war may chas v'shalom be missing, Khalila, may die and his wife has no children, so she may need yibum and she hates her brother-in-law. Serious. Or all kinds of scenarios. Chas v'shalom kidnapped. So they would make a t'nai, if I don't come back from war at a certain point, either dead or I'm kidnapped in Gaza, whatever, automatically, retroactively, your get starts from now. So she already had such a get on condition. But according to Rashi, David took a risk because she was an Ashes Ish in case Uriah still lives. That's why he really had to kill him anyways. Because once Uriah is dead, but Uriah deserves the death because of he was murdered by Malchus, he mele retroactively, but Sheva now became divorced from the moment she received the get. Let's say she got the get on Pesach and he died on Shavuos. Shavuos, Uriah died, whoop, from Pesach she's divorced. Tosfos doesn't like that because Tosfos says David is taking a big risk, right, of being on a Sofik Eshes Ish, right? So Tosfos says no. The get was 100% get. He divorced right away, right now, no problem. Divorced, finished. When I come back from war, I'll remarry you. Renewing the vows like they're going to, right? So basically, give me a second, I'll listen to you soon. How do we know that's true? How do we know that really whoever went to war by the times of David would give a get? Shene'emar, it says in the same, it says, this posuk, by the way, is taking us earlier in history. It says when David was a young boy and his brothers were fighting for Shaul, his predecessor, and David was a young boy who was like running around to help them. So Yishai, his father, told young David, the courier boy, the boy who runs around, he told him, the delivery boy, Kivyochol, he told him, bring those 10 pieces of milk, like cheese, to the general of the 1,000. I'm sending you, to Gaza, see what's going on with the soldiers, give them tefillin, and make sure they're doing okay. Let me know if everything is fine. Listen to this. And take from them aruba, which usually means like a collateral, an irovoin. My arubosom, a collateral to take from the soldiers to the father. Ani Rabbi Yosef, what's arubosom? Dvorim ha'me'urovim beino lebeina. What's me'orav? Mixed. Me'orav connected. Take away the dvorim ha'me'urovim beino lebeina. Whatever is mixing, is uniting a couple, which is what? Which is kiddushin. Take that away, meaning take the get from them to their wives, because they didn't have time. They ran to the war. The mefaked, run on a jeep. Get on a jeep and go to war, right? Right away. They had no time to give the get. So David was a shliach to give the get from his brothers to sisters-in-law. So we see that was the minhag of David's family, and they continued that minhag later on. So according to Rashi, that get would only work retroactively, and we can all sigh a sigh of relief. Uriah is dead. Retroactively, she's not an Eshes Ish. But she'ein ken, according to Tosfos, the get was a get straight away, a complete get of krisos, of severing. So she wasn't Eshes Ish. If she was divorced, elamai. So what's the sin? The sin was that either there was no sin. The sin was that he whatever, this wasn't up to his level, or there is a certain level of immorality by killing Uriah, as we'll see later on. But what's your question? I can see you.
Why did he have to wait 3 months anyway? It
goes online. Get a very good question over here that has to be mentioned. You're asking, according to Rashi, that the get was not yet a get, and Uriah died. He still had relations with Lemafrea, a single woman, a divorcee, but Lichora, there are no 3 months after the divorce, right? You still have to wait 3 months after to be with a divorcee, And I'm answering that as far as I know, that's a din d'Rabbanon, and maybe that the Rabbanon didn't keep. Maybe Rabbanon didn't establish it, or maybe that was Avera. I hear it's a very good point. Continues the Novi and the Gemara. Now, David is blamed, so to speak, or so we think, that he killed Uriah with the cherev bnei Ammon, with the sword of the bnei Ammon, of the people of Ammon, the goyim of Ammon. What does that mean? Really, it's not a punishment. Ma cherev bnei Ammon, just like when Ammonites, when goyim kill someone, you're not punished. Are we punished for the fact that Hamas, Machshemam, kills soldiers? No. So too, Uriah Chiti, so to Uriah Chiti, no, don't sweat over it. You're not going to be punished for indirectly killing Uriah. My time, Moirid b'malchus hava. He's a Moirid b'malchus. Why is a Moirid b'malchus? The Omar Lei, because Uriah told David in a way that sounded insolent. What did he tell him? What did he tell him, Uriah, to David? He retorted and he said, "Adoini Yoav, my master Yoav, the Avda Adoini, the slaves, the soldiers of my Adon Yoav, they are deployed, they are now camping in the field." And he was very explicit. How can I go home to eat, drink, and sleep with my wife while really my master is there? Says Rashi, you call him Master Adoini? That's a chutzpah. That alone is bad enough. Taisa says it's not a chutzpah, because to tell the king that this is your commander is not a bad thing. He's my commander and you're greater than him. But Taisa says the mere fact that he didn't listen to David, that was the Merida. David didn't say, maybe you take a vacation. David said, take a vacation. And he didn't. So that's Merida. Your boss tells you to take off, you have to take off. So that's Tosfos. Amar Rav, however, here comes yet another opinion. Amar Rav, says Rav, David, when you really look into David's story well enough, you don't read it like a Chiloini, you read it well, you don't find any fault in the whole story, bar me'Uriah, except for the story of Uriah. That was the only bad thing that happened. It says, Rak bidvar Uriah hachiti. The Pasuk says, way later, I looked at the Novi inside. The Novi talks about the times after David died already, Niftar. He talks about the times of Yerovam and Rechavam, the kings after David, when they split, the Malchus. And then it says, it mentions David as part of the past, and it says David was such a tzaddik, always following the ways of Hashem, right? When the Torah summarizes the life of David, says David never do anything wrong except for Uriah Chiti, right? Interesting. So what was wrong with Uriah Chiti? I thought it was Mored b'Malchus. Oh, so the Gemara in Kiddushin, Daf Mem Gimel, discusses the fact that first of all, we said what? That it wasn't so simple that a Mored b'Malchus deserves death. There was no judgment. There was no trial. He was Mored b'Malchus. You didn't take him to court properly. Secondly, what was the way that, how was he killed? David didn't touch him. David sent him to war. That's called groma. When you do something begroma, you're potter b'dinei odom, but you chai b'dinei shamayim. If I damage someone in an indirect way without my own hands, make a phone call and tell somebody, can you please kill someone for me? Thank you very much, $100,000. I'm not a tzaddik. I'm not chayiv in Beis Din, but b'dinei shamayim it's osur. So to David, b'dinei shamayim had some nidnu davera of indirectly killing Uriah, according to this opinion. Now comes the Gemara with the question, it's time. Oh, okay, we're going to continue tomorrow. Abaye kshisha rami derav aderav. Abaye, the elderly Abaye, asked a stira between one statement of Rav over the other statement of Rav. Mi omar Rav hachi. Is that what Rav said, that David never ever sinned except for the Uriah business, that sending Uriah to the field wasn't so kosher? Is that so? Look, the Omar Rav says, Kibel David Lashon Hara. The David accepted Lashon Hara. And that's going to be the next story, fascinating story, not very known to many people. We're going to see now, I'm going to do the preparation today for tomorrow's shir. David accepted Lashon Hara in a way that was very tragic and caused the entire Golus and everything. And Rav, on one hand, is telling us that the only Avera of David was Uriah. The other end, we see that Rav really accepted Lashon Hara in a very significant way. So there were two avers, kasha. It's really difficult. I think I'll start tomorrow the next story. I did prepare, but I want to. It's a good place to stop here. Now tomorrow, listen, people on Zoom, whether in America or in Eretz Yisrael. I hope it's okay with you, but I will not be able to give shir tomorrow the regular time. I will be able to give shir tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the evening. So I'll be here 6 o'clock in Mitzvah Hashem from 6 till 27. If you can be here by Zoom or in person, great. See you tomorrow at 6. If not, there's always the internet that was created for good things too. And tomorrow, starting from Gufa and continuing the next page. Tomorrow, if we are good, we'll actually finish the entire parak, hopefully. If we manage, tomorrow should be the end of the parak. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to learn the other story about Lashon Hara, about David's the person under David's authority was Yonason's son. David and Yonasan were best friends. And then after Yonason's death, David took care of his son. Yeah, his son was called Mephibosheth, and the rest is history. Atzlacha bracha. Thank you to everybody here, to you, Jason, and thank you to the people on Zoom. Thank you to those of us who watch us on. Was Uri a goy? No, I said he was a ger. He was a ger, my good chaver. No, he was Chiti. He was a ger, a convert of Hittite origin, from the Chiti. Maybe it was from the Houthim from Yemen. Chitim. Basically, Beseder. So he was a ger. He was a ger from the Chitim. Atzlocho brocho. Thank you so much, and kol tuv, and good night. See you all tomorrow at 6 o'clock here or there. Thank you. Kol tuv.
Right.
Shkoyach to you. Yes.
Now you have to go look and find an answer to my question. I'm sure somebody asked it.